Welcome everyone to another self-growth video. Now, this time I'm going to change around the self-growth. It's not going to be as I used to do it. Until now, I'll take a certain topic, speak about it, and not even so, only put a little bit of Jewishness into it, not completely. Now, I'm happy to announce that I'd like to do it a different style. And I think the best way really to have a good and structured life and a real true life is to be close to Hashem and to listen to His words and what Hashem has to tell us. So, therefore, I would actually like to learn the book of Mishlei. And not only just Mishlei, but learn the book of Mishlei based on the Malbim, which explains it in depth. I'll tell you in a minute more about that. But anyhow, I hope you all enjoy. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos and share to other people. I hope this change will be good for the better. But Ezrat Hashem help us get close to Hashem. So let's get started. Okay, so again, I would like to learn the Mishnah based on the Malbim. And what I want to say about this is the Malbim is special that he explains everything in a great depth, a really great depth. It's amazing how he explains it. And I'll give you examples like first I'll start the Mishlei, and then we'll try understanding and I'll just read the psukim and then I'll tell you what the Malbim is going to explain, and then we'll try starting. It can take a long time, and we're going to go slow, but yeah, that's how it is. So let's get started. So the Mishlei starts. Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. Meshalim of Shlomo, the Proverbs of Shlomo, the son of David, the king of Israel. Lada'as chachma, to know. The purpose of this book is to know wisdom and musar, rebuke, lahavin imrei binah, to understand words of knowledge, not knowledge. We're going to see the Malbim is going to explain it. Therefore, I'm just giving a very simple explanation. Lahavin imrei binah, lakachas musar haskel, to take musar haskel. Haskel is like to take, directional rebuke or whatever. We'll see. Tzedek umishpat, righteousness, judgment, and meshalim, and the straight path. These are all what this book gives us. The seis l'psaim arma, to give psaim, someone who's not so smart or didn't yet learn how to deal with life and all of that. Arma, nakedness, which really means trickery, or not trickery, but wisdom, smartness. Lena'ar, for a young lad. Lepsa'im, meaning someone that's even old, but he's still pesky. He didn't learn. He's not good at, he doesn't know how to. He's not so smart. It doesn't mean like in the brain, but just not using his wisdom or whatever. Lena'ar da'asam zima, for a young person, it gives him knowledge, and mizima, which is really advice. Yishma chacham v'yosef lekach, a wise person will hear. Even though he's wise, he'll hear, and it will add for him. He will add lakach. He will take something out of it. He will add on to it. And a navan will acquire tachbulos, tricks, which it doesn't mean in a bad way. It's in a good way. Just want to point that out all the time. Lavin mashalam elitza divrei chachamim to understand a parable and a melitza, which is, we'll see, the Malbim will explain. Divrei chachamim, the words of the wise people, and their chidos, their riddles. And then Shlomo continues and says, Yiras Adonai reshis das chachma umusar evilim bazo. And I would like to point, we're going to speak on this, but we're not even going to get this in this top recording, but next recording there's a lot to say about reshis chachma. Yiras Hashem reshis das. The fear of God is the first of knowledge. Chachma umusar evilim bazu. The evilim despised wisdom and rebuke. Okay, so let's start the Malbim on this, and I think it's going to be very interesting. First, I want to point out, now, we had a lot of words, different words for wisdom, for chachma and all of that. Listen, there's a lot of words over here. There's Mishlei, there's da'as, there's chachma, musar, bina, musar haskel, arma, psaim. There's all these words. All of these words need to be explained, and the Malbim is going to explain them in depth so we understand everything. That every single word Shlomo took over here is not in vain, for a purpose, and he's explaining, it's very interesting. So Mishlei, Shlomo Melech starts by Mishlei Shlomo. These are the meshalim of Shlomo. So what is a mashal? What bechol davar yesh chomer v'tzura. So first he's bringing an introduction. He's saying everything there's a chomer, which is the physical context of the thing. Tzura, a appearance. Poel, I'm not sure what poel was, and tachlis, a purpose. So 4 things this book has. Chomer, tzura, poel, tachlis. Al piza yomar ki chomer hasefer hu mishlei. Based on this, Shlomo says the physical physical context of the books is meshalim, is Proverbs, is parables. Shehem kevutzat meshalim. It's a gathering of meshalim. Shelavin dvarim sesumim ve'amukim, to understand things that are close, meaning hard to understand, and deep, habilti noidaim, that are not known. Yetzeh lahem mashal midvarim hanodaim. Yamtzi lahem mashal midvarim hanodaim. So what Shlomo does over here is there's plenty of things we're trying to understand that are very deep and they're not understood, and that he's going to bring meshalim, parables, from things that are known, so we could understand the unknown based on that. Because how are we going to understand the depth of something that we don't understand? It's by putting, so basically, I could give you an example of this. In neshama, we don't know how neshama looks, but now we have a body, so that put the tzura on us as a person. So our soul, we don't know how it looks, but we have a tzura, a person that shows how we look, which we have to have meshalim how to explain that. But I'll give you another example. Whoever watched The Lord of the Rings, so there's ring wraiths, and they have like these garments on, but they're like, they don't have a face. So how do we know how they look? The book gives them an appearance by their clothes. So this is the same thing over here. And Shlomo is saying that what do you do? It's something we don't understand, and without comparing it to something else, it's hard to understand. So therefore, we compare it to something else. He brings in mashal of something that we could understand, and then it becomes a garment to this thing we can't understand, and we could then understand it. So Mishlei continues and says, Mishlei Shlomo ben David, Shlomo the son of David. Now, simple pshat, it's just telling you who he is and his importance. The Malbim is going to explain more how important it is to say who wrote this, not only to know that it's Shlomo, but the importance. So it tells you 3 things. Ki amtius. So the poel, the causer. So that was one thing that we didn't, that was the thing that I said I didn't understand what it is, but the causer, the one that causes to happen, meaning the physical content of the books is meshalim. Now, who created the book? Shlomo. That's the second thing that everything has to have, right? So Shlomo ben David, Shlomo the son of David. So it's saying 3 things. 3 ways that the truth will be known, through wisdom and through nevuah. And that's why I said Shlomo, that he was a wise person, and he had the Ruach of Hashem. He had prophecies from Hashem, dreams in a prophecy level. Ruach Elokim, he had the wind of Hashem. So he's saying the first thing is wisdom and prophecy from Hashem. The second thing is through Mesoris, through passing on from generation to generation. And that's why it said Ben David, who had a Mesoris, he had a Kabbalah, he gave it over from his father, and so on. Ben David, So he had a Kabbalah, a tradition from his fathers. And the third thing is through understanding and like testing things in actual life. And for that you need a lot of wise people to come together. And therefore, Mishlei says, Melech Yisrael. Why did you have to point out that Shlomo was the king of Israel? To tell, even we know he was, but why did it point it out? To tell you that was why these are so important, these meshalim, and how good they are, because he was a king over a wise people. So all the wise people come to him. So it was within his power to analyze everything. Like he says, all of this I tested with wisdom, meaning he actually analyzed and tested it. Okay, so we understand the meshalim. So every book has 4 things in it: the actual content, which is the physical content, the appearance, the one who brought it to life, or Paul caused it. And so both of these we understood from over here. Mishlei, it's meshalim. Proverbs, which we said it's something that we do not understand. It's very deep, and therefore we bring a mashal of something that we understand, so it becomes like a garment for this thing we don't understand and makes it a shape for it. And Shlomo, the son of David, wrote these meshalim, who was a king of Israel, and therefore we know these are reliable meshalim, because he was Shlomo, who was the wisest of all people, and he was the son of David, who got from his fathers a tradition, and he was the king of Israel, a wise nation. He brought all these chachamim together to analyze things. So the Navi continues and says, "Lada'as chachma umusar," to understand chachma umusar. So lada'as chachma. So I mean, Mishlei continues, lada'as chachma. So the Malbim says, "Tachlis hasefer." This is the third of the 4 things that we said everything needs. So tachlit, a purpose. So the purpose of the sefer is to know wisdom. Tachlis hasefer hu lada'as chachma, to understand, know wisdom, to know, and it's important to understand, to know wisdom. What does that mean? So first we have to understand what is wisdom, and then we'll see, could we really know wisdom? So Geder hachachma hu lada'as bechol hamidois v'advarim v'minhagim shesh bechol echad mehem shnei drachim hafuchim zeh mizeh. The category of wisdom is to understand in all attributes and all traits and everything, and in any subject, not in person, not only in people and all of that, in every way of life, all the paths and the minhagim, ways of doing things, that there is in every single one of them 2 paths that are opposite from one from another, like cruelty and mercy, ga'ava v'anava, haughtiness, and the opposite of haughtiness, like putting yourself down, or not putting yourself down, but like lowering yourself. Azus, brazenness, and embarrassment. Achila, some eating, fasting. Kedusha, holiness, which is also separation. Holiness, separation, or tuma, impurity. Shehanhaga, which also means unseparation. Shehanhaga al pi derech echad hi chachma. When you go in one path, it's wisdom. Ve'hafucha sichlut, and the other one is folly. Lemashal, for example, lisnaheg be'anava hu chachma. For example, to be humble is wisdom. Lisnaheg be'gava, but to be haughty, hu sichlus, that's folly. Ulafamim hagava chachma ve'anava sichlut, but sometimes it's the opposite. Wisdom. Gaiva, haughtiness, is wisdom, and humility is dumbness. Dumb to be humility, like like when you're going against Rashaim, wicked people, and Zaydim, people that do stuff, bad things purposely. Same way with anything that there's the name of good and bad on them. Good and disgusting. The wisdom will teach you which way to go, and when, and how, when, and how much of every measurement. So wisdom is measurements, basically, understanding the different paths, the different extremes, and everything like that, realizing which direction to go, and when to go in which direction, and how much of each direction. It's weighing everything out, figuring out the amount and the place and time. One thing could be bad at a certain time and the good at a different time, and so on. So we understand what chachma is. It's a rule that the paths of wisdom you can't know from yourself, because how are you going to know what's really the best? Like, is there any, like, if someone says, oh, you should be this haughty or this humble, how do you know what's the best path? Do you have any natural proof or from nature or something like that you could actually test and see what's the best? You can't do that. Like 50%, 70% humbleness, that doesn't work. And the same with everything else. You can't prove it you can't bring proofs to show that this is the best way. But those are brought down from Hashem, are things that Hashem told us how to act. That He engraved the laws of wisdom and taught them to people in the Torah Shebechsav, which is the Bible, the Tanakh, the Torah Sheba'al Peh, and what was passed on traditionally, the Torah Sheba'al Peh. That over there Hashem engraved all the deeds and their borders by wisdom. So therefore, understanding this, that we can't decide based on a proof what is the best measurement of each thing to do, like how should we be cruel at a certain time and merciful at a certain time. Just by the way, example, you see right now what's going on. Sometimes you killing a person could be the best thing. Sometimes kill a person would be the worst thing in the world. Like if you're in a war and you're killing a wicked person or something like that, then that's a good thing. But now we see, of course, it's being reversed a little bit, and we see how suddenly, let's say, of course, when Hashem's nation, Bnei Israel, are now fighting a war against Hamas and all of that, suddenly we become the cruel people because we're killing our enemies that try to destroy us totally. So therefore, that just proves to you that's not something that there's a clear way of understanding it. Rather, Hashem gave us the paths of wisdom. And therefore, according to this, you can't really know wisdom, da'as. You didn't say what da'as is, no, la da'as. We talked about chachma. Chachma, we're calling it knowledge, then I'm going to call da'as. Well, chachma I'm going to call wisdom, then da'as I'm going to call knowledge in English. But you should know I'm not categorizing the English words over here. Just so you should remember, the English words, I don't know what the category exactly, I'm not sure, but I'm categorizing the Hebrew words and I'm just translating them to English. So I'm always going to try putting together the Hebrew and English. But you cannot understand, you cannot know for a fact what the perfect wisdom is. You cannot know wisdom, chachma. You cannot know that. Ki ha'yediah lo tipol rak al davar she'yeda ha'adam be'yediah burah. Because knowing, knowledge, it doesn't, where do we say that phrase? In something that he knows with a complete understanding, complete knowledge, and that's something that he knows through his senses or through muskulos rishon, that is simple first-hand logic. Or whatever. That you cannot with wisdom, because there's no first step logic in wisdom. You cannot get it through, because you cannot understand it through the senses. That doesn't determine what's the right knowledge over here. You can't prove it. Rak al-yedei Kabbalah, only through the Kabbalah, which is a Masorah, a tradition, and what we got from Hashem. But Ulam Shlomo al-yedei meshalav, through his parables, Shlomo HaMelech limed lada'as chachma. He taught us to know wisdom. Ki hisbir et advarim habilti noda'im al-yedei devarim hanoda'im, because he explained to us wisdom, explained to us things that are not understood, which is wisdom, through things that are understood. Like we said, they're meshalim that explain deep things that are not understood through things that could be understood. Al-yedei ha-meshalim, like through the parables. And that way you could know wisdom through these parables. So that's what Mishlei is telling us, this great thing, that what Mishlei is going to teach us is teach us to know wisdom, something that you think you cannot know. But Mishlei is saying, Shlomo HaMelech saying, I'm going to teach you to know wisdom through these parables. That's how beneficial these parables are going to be over here. So that's all we're going to do today. That's about it. I hope you benefited and enjoyed this video. And please like and subscribe. And hopefully next week I'll continue where we're at. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching.